This episode is brought to you by Hostfully. Using Hostfully, you can create a free digital guidebook for your listing so that you can save time creating a professional experience for every guest that comes and visits your spot. Learn more at hostfully.com.
Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.
Welcome, Get Paid for Your Pad, episode 265. Today I have my good friend Blake on the podcast, and if you remember, in October I actually interviewed Blake in episode 254, and we talked about his Airbnb Plus experience. Blake, he applied for Airbnb Plus, and in episode 255 we talked about the whole process of getting set up on Airbnb Plus and all the requirements and application process and all that. And I wanted to get him on the podcast again to see how things are going with Airbnb Plus, how the listings are performing, and anything else that's been going on with Blake. So Blake, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Jasper.
So how's it going in Melbourne with your Airbnbs?
Yeah, I mean, since October, it's been a really busy period because it's the summer rush over Christmas and the New Year. And January is a big month as well. It's the nicest weather of the year in Melbourne. There's a lot of big events like the Australian Open, Australia Day, things like that. So it's been pretty busy. It's been good. Pretty much booked out solid.
Awesome. Now, what's really cool about Blake's situation is that he has an Airbnb Plus listing and he has a regular listing, correct?
Yeah, one's a 3-bedroom house, and that's the regular listing, and then I have a 2-bedroom apartment, which is the Airbnb Plus.
Awesome. So you're in a really good position to compare the two and kind of get an idea of what the benefits are from Airbnb Plus, right? Because in the other episodes we talked a lot about how you had to go through quite a lot of effort to comply with all the extra requirements for Airbnb Plus. I remember you told me that you would send in the pictures and then they would give you feedback, and then when you change it and they would give you different feedback, and that whole process seemed to be a little bit tedious, right?
Yeah, it was pretty tedious, and it took a long while, and I was actually traveling for a while, so it was even harder to do when I would only be in the country every now and then to make the changes. And then what actually ended up happening, because I took so long, Airbnb sent me an email saying, hey, if you get your changes done by the certain date, we'll give you a $700 bonus, which was pretty cool. So I had a friend in town go and finish the changes for me, and I got that done in time, which was really, really good.
So you got the $700?
Yeah.
Nice. Wait, how much did you pay for Airbnb Plus? Because I think you have to pay like some sort of application fee, right?
Yeah, I think the application fee was about in Australian dollars, about $150, something like that, and that covers them to come out and have a look, and I'm pretty sure that covers their professional photography because they send out a photographer. And the interesting thing about the photography is that you don't really have any control over the pictures that kind of end up on your listing. You do in some regards, in that you can choose the pictures for each room, but you can't put your own pictures on at all, and you also can't rearrange the order of the pictures.
Okay, so Airbnb kind of takes over and they decide what the best order of the pictures is?
Well, yeah, and this has been my little complaint. So with the listing itself, once you get approved on Airbnb Plus, they send you through basically they send you a form so you can fill out. You got to change your title, and the description is, you can't write a big description or anything like that. I think you get like 50 words or something like that. And the listings are very different from a traditional listing. And in my experience, I wrote what I thought was going to be good. And I mean, I have a bit of experience in sales, marketing, and copywriting. So I was like, I know this is going to be some good hooks and this is going to be some good stuff. And then they completely changed everything. So nothing really that I wrote ended up on my listing. And then the other piece to that is the photos. You can't choose the order. And the order seems to be random, even though they don't let you change the order. So you might have 10 photos to choose from, and you go through and click the ones that you want that represent that room. But the problem is it might put like the photo you don't want as the main photo. So if you go to my listing of my main bedroom, you go to my listing of my Airbnb Plus listing, and then you scroll down to the where they have the pictures of each room, and the cover photo for my main bedroom is a very simple photo of just the desk that I have in the main bedroom, the desk and a wall. So it's not a good picture at all, and it doesn't represent a bedroom. And I've been on the phone with support. I've probably about 20 different emails with different support people. I've been on to the Airbnb Plus specialists that have had a look, and a lot of the time they're sitting there saying, "Oh well, no, we choose the listings, and we have a specialist design it so that it's we understand you want some input, but we're going to do it." And I'm like, "Are you looking at the listing? Because this is a desk, not a bedroom, and it's not a good picture of a desk either." So, and then eventually, backwards and forwards with the actual Airbnb Plus specialist team, which was taking over a week between replies. They didn't help, and then I had to essentially just not use that photo, so that I would end up with a different photo as the cover. And the different photo as the cover, still isn't the ideal one that you would want, but at least shows that it's a bedroom, which was pretty frustrating.
Yeah. So you essentially had to delete the photo.
Yeah, I just unselected it. I've only got 4 photos on there instead of the 5 you can choose. And it's a bit of a strange policy that they can't even change the photo order, and you can't, and it's randomly selected, and the only control you have is the photos you select, like you choose in that set of 5, or you can choose 2 or whatever.
Right. So essentially, if you want to change the order, you essentially have to upload a new picture and see how that changes the order, and
but I
get
can't
to keep replacing them until you are happy with the order, I guess.
But I can't upload any photos. I have to get an Airbnb Plus photographer to come out and do another shoot.
So all you can do is select the ones. So there's a bunch of photos in there, and then you have to select the ones that you want on your listing. And then once you've selected them, then Airbnb puts those in a random order.
Yeah.
So so basically you have to play around with like selecting different sets within the portfolio and see what the algorithm decides to do with that.
Yeah, and as much as I've tried to select them, save it, select an extra one, save it to try and get the order that I want, it always ends up in the order you don't want. So some of the other rooms aren't as good either, which is a bit of a frustrating point for me, because you go to the listing and you're like, this could be a great apartment. You scroll down and you have 10 seconds to capture a visitor's attention with a listing, and they go to your listing and they see these pretty average pictures on each of the rooms. So it's it's one of those things that I'm a little bit annoyed with, but I guess I'm just making do with the best I can.
Right. Is there anything else that's out of your control? So you're saying the photos are kind of out of your control, at least the order. What about things like captions and cancellation policy, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think the cancellation policy I still control. I mean, I might need to double check that, but mine's moderate. But the captions, the headline, all of that is chosen by Airbnb. Like I was saying before, I kind of wrote some stuff myself, and it got changed. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is when Airbnb Plus, they obviously expect you to maintain a very high standard, and in doing that, if any guest ever reviews anything as a 4-star or anything like that, support will reach out to you. So I had a guest recently that she wasn't actually an Airbnb Plus booking. She booked long before I got on Airbnb Plus, but she didn't read the instructions, my welcome message, didn't look at my Hostfully guidebook. And it's very simple. I have it's a very easy check-in process where I have photos and I have like a little guide to show you exactly where to go, exactly what to do, and it's repeated multiple times through the check-in messaging. Anyway, so she'd noted on her review that the check-in process wasn't very good because she couldn't find the lockbox, and within hours, Airbnb support was emailing me and calling me saying, "Hey, you got to sort this out, or you'll be removed from Airbnb Plus." I mean, I can't control if somebody doesn't read. What else can I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always an issue, right? When your guests don't read the instructions. I mean, you can send them all the information, but you can't control whether they read it or not. But it's good that you're using the guidebook, because I found that when you send them a guidebook that looks good, they're definitely more likely to look at it and read it than if you send them like one massive email with a massive amount of text.
Yeah. I actually modeled my welcome message similar to yours. And the guidebook is it's sent pretty much up front, and then before they check in, I send it again to them and say, "Hey, just have a flick through this."
Yeah.
It'll give you everything you need. So it's actually been really good. I've been getting a lot of good feedback for that.
Hi, my name is Margot, and I'm the CEO of Hostfully. We are on a mission to make local travel a lot better, and we're starting with digital guidebooks to make that happen. Using Hostfully digital guidebooks, which work great on any mobile device, on desktop and in print, you can share important property information and local recommendations with your guests. You can also save time and create a great guest experience that each traveler will appreciate. Hostfully guidebooks are very fast to make, and we've included some advanced features where you can feature your custom logo, your colors, custom categories, and essentially your brand. Please take a chance to check us out at hostfully.com.
So the front page of the Airbnb listing, which we just looked at, we're just trying to find Blake's listing in Airbnb. And by the way, I noticed that they've changed when you put in the dates, they've made some changes. You can now see what the average price of all listings over 2 days, excluding taxes. And they'll give you like a green dot in the calendar when the prices are the cheapest, just like a lot of flight search engines do as well. And when you're looking for flights, often if you're flexible and you select a whole month or something, they put like green dots where the price is cheapest, and it seems like they're doing that on Airbnb now as well, which is interesting. But also the front page of an Airbnb Plus listing looks very different than a regular listing.
Yeah.
You only see one picture, whereas for regular Airbnb listings you see a portfolio of the first 5 section of the first 5. So that's pretty interesting, and like you said, so they split up the photo galleries in categories, right? You have the cover photo, then you have the different areas: the living room, the kitchen, the first bedroom, second bedroom. So I was just looking at the pictures now, and I mean, to be honest, I think none of these are like really that great.
No.
Like the first pictures,
No.
right? And I'm gonna put a link in the show notes to Blake's listing, so you guys can all have a look yourself. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is not the best picture of the living room right here. I mean, I would say this is a better picture, this one, than this one even, because it shows way more. So yeah, it's definitely true what Blake's saying. This is a really bad picture here.
Yeah,
of the bedroom.
it used to be
You
just.
don't even see the bed.
Yeah, it used to be
wow.
just be that desk in a very small photo, just the desk, like a photo on your iPhone, like an up and down photo, just the desk. It was just bizarre.
Oh my god, this is really this is pretty bad. I mean, Airbnb Plus is supposed to be their the highest quality listing, and they're messing around with these photos. That's really not good. Yeah, because we're looking at the pictures of the bedroom, and the first the cover picture is essentially the worst picture of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, this one would be much better. This one would be much better.
Oh, yeah, all of them would be better. Wow, that's really crazy. So I don't know, how do you think Airbnb selects these? They must just have an algorithm, right?
It's random, and I mean, it doesn't make sense that they don't let us have any control over the order, but they let us control which ones we include. So I could in my main bedroom, I could go and select all the photos for the exterior. It doesn't stop me selecting exterior photos for my bedroom, but it won't let me rearrange the photos to the order that I think is the best.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, it really doesn't make sense at all. And so the amenities section looks different than a regular listing, right? So instead of just listing the amenities on Airbnb Plus listings, you get small icons, like little pictures. Those are standard, right? You didn't upload.
Yeah, they just happen automatically. A great tip I actually got for a standard listing, a great idea is to have a look at some of these Airbnb Plus listings, and you'll get an idea of what they're doing for the amenities, and you could just take a screenshot and make your own and make it a photo in your listing. That's what I've seen some people do, because it does look good when they have those amenities like that.
Yeah, it looks really good. That's a great idea. So just go on an Airbnb Plus listing, take a screenshot of the amenities, a listing that happens to have the same amenities as you do, or you can, I guess you can Photoshop a little bit too, but it does look a lot better. So I think that's definitely a good idea. So let's look at some of the captions, because I'm curious to see how well they're doing with that. So bedroom 1, queen bed, pillow top mattress, room darkening, shades. So those are the captions.
Well, for those captions, they didn't actually let me. You can't really write them. You can select the features of the room.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the features are kind of like, they're not. There's a lot of stuff in this room that's really nice, but it's not there as a feature, and I need to add it as an other option, or type it in. And there's been, I think that in there's the option to add captions. It keeps giving me a notification to say add captions, but every time I've gone and done it, it hasn't translated the caption over into any of it. So I don't know what it's doing.
Yeah, because essentially the captions are very brief. I mean, it says for the kitchen, for example, it says espresso machine. That's it.
It's a pretty cool kitchen.
This is pretty hilarious. So essentially, Airbnb has the highest end listings in their Airbnb Plus, and then instead of letting the host do a really good job at sorting the pictures and writing the captions and writing the description, then they do it for you because they want like high quality listings, but then they completely mess it up.
Yeah. I guess I understand they want to keep the standard. That there's a high standard, and they want to have a level that they're all kind of at. But I guess if this is the standard they're setting, it's not real good.
Well, but I mean that's the thing. I mean, who decides, what pictures to show in the captions? Like the people that are in charge of that, they're not hosts.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we as hosts, we're the experts. We know, how to create a good listing, and so, Airbnb that's not their. I mean, that's not really what they're good at. I mean, they're good at making like a cool marketplace. They're pretty good at that. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty clear. But they're not necessarily good at creating listings. So, and I mean, it's also not. I mean, they don't have enough personnel to look at each listing individually. So they probably just came up with some algorithm that selects the photos, and then they came up with this thing where you can automatically create those captions. Anyway, this it's quite interesting. I didn't know a lot of this stuff. So what else is different about the listing? It looks like the reviews, they are similar. They're just the positioning is a little bit different. Other than that, it's pretty much the same, I guess, right?
Yeah. Just a different layout of the whole page.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the results so far. Because how long have you had the listing online?
It's been on Airbnb Plus since I think mid to end of November, and it's hard to tell whether it is making a big difference, because November, December, January is kind of the biggest months for my area and Melbourne and Australia in general. So I've had both my listings fairly booked up most of the time, and that's kind of to be expected for that time of year. With that said, I mean, I've had the price at a reasonably high level in comparison to the other homes in the area, and I haven't really had any feedback to say that the value wasn't really good. So I know I've got my price probably at the right spot, and I'm hoping that what I'm interested to see is if during kind of the lower months, which are coming up in sort of May, June, if the Airbnb Plus makes a difference to those bookings. And I'm a little bit concerned that potentially it might not, because of how the listings are being displayed and shown. And somebody might look at my listing and be like, this doesn't look that good. They might see a regular listing that's cheaper and it has better photos because the host can choose them all themselves. So in terms of results, it's hard to say, but I mean, I have had some of my best months on Airbnb from that listing over the last couple of months, but it could also be due to the busy period.
Right. So the jury is still out on whether you're making more money on Airbnb Plus versus a regular listing.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't draw that conclusion yet. All right, sweet. Well, we'll have you back on in maybe in the summer. You're saying what? So in Melbourne, it's kind of the opposite of often places like the U.S., Canada, and Europe, right? Where December, January, February, those are kind of like the high season.
Yeah, it's a busy time because it's summer, and in Melbourne, the weather can change from it could be raining and cold, and you want to stay inside in a jumper, a hoodie all day, and then in the afternoon you'll be at the beach and having a swim because the weather swings are huge. But in summer, it's generally you have a lot more good weather, and there's about 3 months there that it's really good in Melbourne. I mean, Melbourne's a great city, so if you're going to go there, a lot of people come then, and then yeah.
How does Melbourne differ from Sydney?
I mean, I personally love Melbourne compared to Sydney. I find Sydney's very beautiful, very picturesque, but it's also there's a lot of friction in the city in that if you want to go to the next suburb over to have brunch, it's a whole ordeal. You need there's lots of traffic. The public transport's not the best. There's a lot of people. It's busy. It's expensive, and so there's just doing anything in Sydney will take you a long time. And I mean, if you're living in the city or around the city, it's one of the most expensive places in the world to live and rent. So most people live kind of on the outskirts, which then if you're doing that, it takes anywhere from 1 to 2 hours to get into the city to do something. So Sydney's never really been my favorite place. But Melbourne, on the other hand, it's a lot cheaper. But the getting around is really, really easy. There's trams everywhere. The trains are amazing. You can literally, like, I sold my car, or I donated it to a charity 2 years ago because I was using it once a month, because oftentimes it's faster and easier to just jump on a tram because they're down nearly every street. Melbourne's built like a grid, kind of like similar to New York, like it's a grid. So it's like you pretty much can get around really easily. It's still got a beach in St Kilda. It's got beaches, an hour drive away. It's got amazing culture and food. And I think the coffee, after everywhere I've been in the world, Melbourne easily has the best coffee scene in kind of anywhere. Similar with the cafes and the food and everything there. So Melbourne's, I do rate it.
Yeah, one thing that you told me that surprised me a little bit, you were telling me that Australia has one of the highest standards when it comes to food quality. And I actually had a friend visit here in Taiwan. Like me and Blake are actually sitting right next to each other here in Taipei, where we're running a personal development course. And so we've been hanging out a lot. And we had a friend over who just came back from Australia. And the first thing she was like, oh my God, the food was amazing there.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal because just the food standards are just so high because people, everywhere you go, and this is especially true in the cities. If you're in kind of outback Queensland, you can't expect it to be that amazing. But in Melbourne and Sydney, the standard restaurant for it to survive has to be really, really good. And I think that's due to Australians generally have a pretty high level of disposable income, and it's also a little bit of a lifestyle thing. People go out to eat often to socialize, and that's kind of if you ask a lot of people, like, what do you do for fun? They'll kind of struggle to answer because the main thing they do for fun is go out to brunch or go out for dinner or go out for drinks. So it's a really big part of what people do. So I mean, you can sit there on Foursquare or TripAdvisor or whatever restaurant app you use, and you can just be overwhelmed with choice.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to visit Melbourne at some point. I've only been to the Gold Coast and to what is it, Cairns. Cairns. Yeah, it was pretty fun though.
I mean, they're both very different places.
Yeah.
To kind of Melbourne and Sydney. Gold Coast is like the little mini Las Vegas of Australia. So it's like, I mean, I personally don't like it because I'm from the Sunshine Coast, where it's a lot more chill version of the Gold Coast, and Cairns is far north Queensland, so it's different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, it was fun though in Cairns. The one thing that I remember really well is that I went to a bar and they had a goldfish race.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never seen that before in my life.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff like that up in Cairns. Lots of backpackers, lots of travelers, and it's a good party scene out there. So
yeah, all right, cool. Well, Blake, thanks for coming on the show, and we'll have you back on once you get some more results in for your Airbnb Plus listing, so we can get a better idea of like, is it really worth going through all the hassle and going through all the effort to get on Airbnb Plus. So for the listeners, thanks for listening. And next Wednesday, I'll be back with another episode. So hopefully see you then. Bye-bye.
Paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get